Okay, guys, welcome to video to the following video. I don't know what video number this is, but what we are covering in this video is risk to reward. Okay, so in this video, I'm only going to pretty much cover the general outline and the power of risk to reward. Okay, so I'm not going to consider partials. I'm going to save that for the second video, which is probably going to be in like phase 5, I believe. I'm covering the quote unquote truth behind risk to reward. Okay, so all I want to do now is pretty much introduce to you the power behind risk to reward if used properly. Right? So, right, pretty much a background on me, right? I started off pretty much immediately, I started off as a Wyckoff trader, and on top of that, I added, Fibonacci ratios, whether that was Fibonacci extensions, Fibonacci retracements, and I correlated the two, right? And as I pretty much developed as a trader, I noticed that minimizing my stop loss would be the best way to quote unquote get the highest return, right? On paper, right? So from then on is where pretty much I started developing these types of concepts and starting to look into the general power of risk to reward. Okay, and that's pretty much a big word that's thrown around these days, but I want you guys to be essentially properly informed from my perspective on what it is and the power behind it. Okay, so risk to reward. What is risk to reward? Risk to reward is the quote unquote amount that you risk in comparison to the potential amount that you return. Right, like I said, I'm not going to cover partials in this video. Right, I'm just going to cover the general overview. So, for the most part, right, we know that Forex is an investment, right? It's a type of investment in the finance field. Okay, so in the long run, in terms of longevity, your total ROI is what matters, and that is pretty much focused through the amount that you risk in comparison to the amount that you can potentially make. Okay, so in essence, higher RR, higher risk to reward in the long run. Okay, so risk to reward will fall down to three main components. Okay, pretty much your stop loss size, your take profit size, and the most important one, the accuracy of your entry, which is the emphasis of essentially this entire course is finding accuracy, finding optimal points with high probability that can give you the highest possible risk to reward. That is the entire goal, right? But that does not mean that your goal has to necessarily be high risk to reward, right? In the long run, what matters more than risk to reward is your win rate. And from a psychological perspective, the reason why I say that is because if you're taking 10 to 15, even 3 to 5 losses before getting that one winner, you might miss out on that one winner because you've now psyched yourself out and essentially taken yourself out of the trading situation and hindered your growth, in essence, right? So you want accuracy alongside precision, okay? Right? You want to be essentially have the highest risk to reward with the highest possible win rate, right? So as we're developing this, right, I'm going to show you examples of pretty much what we are used to and how it was developed over time and pretty much up to where we are today. Okay. Okay, so chart 1. Right, this chart essentially is for the quote unquote beginner, and it's pretty much support and resistance, right? Pretty much what I highlighted here is a major resistance zone, a major support and resistance zone, because this was a resistance turned to newly found support, right? Now the previous resistance was broken through, right? And we now take our entry based on the previous support, right? Below a previous structure point here. So it's a 20 pip stop, still an excellent trade per se. 7R, which is, a very, very good trade. Like I said, we're not here to downplay any type of method, right? I'm just showing you essentially what I prefer, and it's your job to not essentially copy it, but make it work for you. Okay? So as you can see here, we probably got like 10, 15 pips of drawdown, maybe, to then give you a 200 pip TP, which is absolutely incredible, correct? So the main thing that I want you to realize here is the risk to reward. It's a 7-to-1 with 200 pips. That took about 3 to 4 days, right? So from there, right, we pretty much evolve into, right, speaking on Fibonacci. And Fibonacci is based off of ratios, which goes into the geometric side of trading, measured moves, pretty much fractal natures in terms of distance and time. Right, pretty much a method I used to be heavy with, 61.871. And although it was very good, as you can see here, although the risk to reward is only a 5-to-1, right, if we had that same 200 pip TP, right, that probably would have been 2 times this, which is about a 10-to-1 R, right, because the other one was a 200 pip TP. So to reference this, that would be a 10R in the same quote-unquote trade, right? But notice the entry is a lot more accurate because there's logic followed in the trade, and we have rules based on where to set a stop loss, which is right below 78.6. But over time, I noticed that SL rule was extremely, I don't want to say misleading, but it can be very inaccurate if you aren't considering, your structure, your momentum, and many other catalysts. So as you develop, as you improve your trading method, right, this is pretty much what I'm here to do now, right? So the essential basis of this trade is a structural continuation, right? Found a point of interest, right? Could even call this a turbulence point, something we'll cover down through the course, right? As we come into our point of interest, we reacted perfectly, right? Gave us, with a 5 pip stop, a 78 pip TP at a 14-to-1 risk to reward, or a 1-to-14, I'm sorry. And as you can see, this is pretty much the least amount of pips, but the highest risk to reward shown out of the 3 examples. And that to me has been the biggest evidence of my progression over time, right? So, right, not only is this a higher risk to reward, it's also the trade was completed in probably less than half the time of the original support and resistance. And it's probably, I would say, right around the same amount of time as the 61.8, right? But the risk to reward is an extreme difference here. So what does that show? That shows efficiency, which is essentially what I'm wanting you guys to become good at, is being efficient with how you're executing trades, when you're executing trades, right? How you're managing the trades, right? But it all revolves around efficiency. Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next video.